What is this? Booze in your sewing box, pills in a spice box? I'm fed up.
You've got no right to go around and tear up my house this way.
No right. Did you say no right? I've got an obligation.
Have you gone mad? What is it you want, a civil war?
We've got a civil war. Look at me. I'm like some sort of police dog sniffing out your supply.
That's perfect. That's what you are, a dog, an animal.
Shut up! I'm not going to quit, Jan. Not until you quit.
I could, if I wanted.
Ha! How many times have you said you'd quit?
And changed my mind. Well, it's not easy living with Mr. Carry Nation.
Oh, no. You're hooked. It's not bad enough you're a resident drunk. You've got to get hooked on pills, too. I don't see how you can look any of us in the eye.
Now I understand this elaborate display of yours. You're trying to humiliate me in front of my children. You want them to think their mother is some kind of alcoholic. Don't you think we know you're covering something up? It's quite obvious why you go on so many business trips. Why you come home late so often. You're seeing another woman, aren't you? I expect she's some cheap broad from the streets. You see, I'm not the guilty one. There. So much for your alcoholic. I could quit if I wanted. I just don't see very much around here to quit for.
No, she wouldn't have done that unless she had some more around the house somewhere.
What?
Emptying the bottle like that. An alcoholic will do that sometimes to prove she isn't an alcoholic. But only if she has some more stuff somewhere else.
What are you talking about?
I saw a film on alcoholism in school today.
Oh, my God, an instant expert.
I'm not an expert, Dad. But I saw some stuff in that film that scared me. And I did learn one thing. You and I don't know very much about alcoholics.
My God, Scott, we live with one. Guess I've lived with one for a long time.
Dad, we've got to do something.
I know that. How much fun being bullied by your own son. What'd your film say we should do?
Now, you didn't come here to talk about the weather. You need help or you wouldn't be here. Now, from what you've told me, it's apparent that your wife has a drinking problem.
Yes.
In fact, she's an alcoholic. You disagree?
Oh, I've called her that myself a few times. During fights. My son thinks she's... It's difficult to talk about. To someone outside the family. It's hard to accept the fact she really is an alcoholic. She's a good mother, most of the time. She goes to church. No one in her family's ever had a drinking problem. I've seen her refuse drinks, many times, at parties.
Alcoholism is an illness. See, it's not how much a person drinks, but how it affects them. Then the illness becomes evident through behavioral symptoms. Here, take a look at this chart. Now, these are symptoms that the alcoholic may display during the various stages. Oh, things like hiding her liquor, or alcoholic amnesia, a void in her memory, or mood swings, laughing for no apparent reason, then crying a minute later.
Jan doesn't go through all the things on that chart. Some of them sound like her, but others... What does it prove?
Well, it's a case of probability. Each alcoholic is different. None of them have all or exactly the same symptoms, but a few of these symptoms taken together is pretty good evidence that she has a drinking problem. It's just common sense. Look, Bill, I've had my problems with booze. I have a good idea how you feel and a pretty good idea of how your wife feels. Now, you've tried what we call home cures. Cut off her supply. You've searched out and thrown away her reserves. You might have even canceled her checking account, limited her funds.
Or took her car keys. I've tried everything I could think of. What else is there?
Well, the way I see it, your wife is sick. She's suffering from a devastating and progressive illness, and it'll keep progressing until one of three things happens: death, insanity, or arrestment of the illness. Now, you have some alternatives. You could divorce her. Now, that may be necessary to save yourself and the rest of the family, and maybe shock her into seeking treatment. You could let her go on drinking and hope for a miracle, or you could seek help for her.
She wouldn't accept help.
Well, unfortunately, the problem drinker is often her own worst enemy. She won't admit she's sick or in need of help. The harder you try to reason with her, the more resentful she becomes. It takes a lot of courage, skill, and fortitude to get an alcoholic to seek help. And the husband is not in a favored position here. Often, all of her resentments are leveled against him. It's one of the enigmas of alcoholism.
If that's true, what can I do?
Well, you could get her into treatment. It's not impossible.
You don't make it sound very easy.
Well, there are ways. One is to have her committed to a state institution for treatment. It's rough, but often the only way. But it is humiliating, and often, too often, leaves scars that never go away.
The court hereby adjudges you an inebriate and commits you to the state mental hospital to receive treatment. The period of treatment to be determined by the psychiatric director of said institution, but the minimum period of commitment to be 60 days.
I don't like the idea of commitment or a state mental institution for Jan. The thought of it scares me. It would petrify her.
Of course, there are other ways. Your wife could receive treatment at any state or private hospital. They can detoxify her. Then after that, she can go directly into AA. In the past, this was all that was available for alcoholics. It was often difficult to find a hospital to give treatment. But today, hospitals not only detoxify, but many have programs for recovery and also offer psychiatric help. Then, there are the halfway houses, residences where the recovering alcoholic can live while starting on the road back. And there are private treatment centers. These are generally capable of detoxification. I think in your case, I would recommend a private treatment center.
You mean with locked doors, barred windows, guards?
Oh, no, far from it. You should see some of these places. They're more like vacation resorts, like a retreat, really. A place like Lynnville. I wish I could go there myself. You know, you don't have to be an alcoholic to get a great deal out of a stay there.
What difference does it make? How am I going to get Jan there?
Well, I have a suggestion. I can get a good woman counselor who had the same dual addiction that your wife has. Now, do you think you can get your wife to come in and just talk to her? That'd be the best start.
Daddy said you were going to get well.
Honey, there's nothing wrong with Mother.
You don't have to pretend, Mommy.
What did he tell you, dear?
Just that we should understand when you're sick.
We told her that there was a lady down at the information center that wanted to help you.
Help me? Why does everyone think I'm sick?
We just want you to know there's someone who can help when you're ready. We love you.
Daddy, if Mommy talked to the lady, would she be happy again?
Mother, I'm home. Can I run you down to the center?
No, that's all right. I'll drive myself.
You sure? You know the parking down there.
I'm sure. I'm leaving right now.
Jan, I know all the things you're going through.
I'm not going through anything.
I denied having a problem right up until my husband had me committed to the state hospital. I'd become quite a con artist. For a long time, I thought I had a lot of people fooled, even my husband. But then everything broke down. My whole family seemed to know my dependence. Even then, I couldn't admit my problem.
Family, that's my problem. My husband is some sort of self-declared prohibition agent. Whenever he finds a bottle in the house, he throws it out as dramatically as possible.
Did he find the bottles hidden? I did that, Jan, and a lot of other things you've probably done. I can remember the parties. What a chore. But no one who saw me at a party would ever have called me an alcoholic. I'd be the only near non-drinker there. Only one drink. I was always a lady. I never drank in public. But before the party, well, a couple of stiff ones to fortify myself. And afterwards, when I got home, I'd really lay one on. But then our social life disintegrated. I can remember isolating myself in my house with a bottle. At that time, we had almost no social life at all. When I absolutely had to go out, like I can remember a school conference one time, I'd gulp down a handful of pills so no one could smell liquor on me. I couldn't face anything without alcohol or pills. On those rare occasions when I did venture out on my own, to get cigarettes or go to the grocery store or something, I always carried a flask of vodka in my purse. I made sure I was never without my alcohol or my pills. Jan, at some point we have to make a decision to help ourselves. I waited far too long. I lost my husband, custody of the children. I know what it's like.
Perhaps we can get together again sometime.
I hope so. But think over what we've talked about.
Thank you.
Don't be embarrassed, Jan. Not too long ago, this would have been my first stop, too.
Oh, do you think I have enough vodka? My husband and I are giving a little party tonight for about 30 people. We have plenty of everything else, but all our friends seem to be vodka drinkers.
6 o'clock in the morning, Jan. We've packed some of your things. We're going to take you to a place called Lynnville. What's the matter?
Will I be locked up?
Of course not. Lynnville isn't a prison. The information center told us about it. It's a beautiful place, really. Like a resort. You can do anything you want there, including getting well. Don't worry, honey.
I have these awful pains. Right here and down into my back. Terrible shooting pains.
I'm Mary. I'm going to be your counselor while you're here. Maybe you and I better go up and have a glass of orange juice. Don't worry about that, Jan. When I first came into treatment, I spilled at least 20 cups of coffee. Things will get better, believe me.
There is one thing you must understand and remember during your stay here at Lynnville. And I'm telling you the truth when I say this. You are not a worthless person because you are an alcoholic, nor are you a moral degenerate. You are suffering from an illness, a progressive illness, an illness that is arrestable, an illness that is treatable. You can recover, and we are here to help you do this.
Before I came here.
Did you decide on your own to finally come?
Yeah.
I Who will take care of me?
You mean you didn't drink a lot?
Occasionally I'd have a drink before dinner.
One drink? I can't ever remember having just one drink.
Perhaps at parties,
Where did you keep it? My husband wouldn't let me have it in the house. I had to hide it.
I guess I did get to that point.
All of us here today are addicted to chemicals. Alcohol, pills, perhaps both. But there are other common denominators among us we need to recognize to fully understand our condition. I'd like to tell you about the addicted woman. Listen, because it's our story. Loneliness is where it begins. Perhaps the youngest child has just started school. The husband is at that rapid advancement stage of his career, and he's preoccupied with it. Maybe he travels a lot. At any rate, it's darn lonely in that house. The odd thing is that we now seem to feel lonely even when everyone's at home. It's this sprouting and spreading sense of insecurity that we have. It's never been easy for us to express our true deep-down feelings about anything. We are among the most inarticulate of communicators when it comes to the way we really feel. And nobody seems to understand us, least of all ourselves. The problem was, we never seemed able to answer the most important question of all. Who am I? It was so easy for us to start drinking, or just a little bit, to experience the oh-so-welcome effects alcohol could at first bring. We found that with alcohol or pills, our anxieties and insecurities could be lost in the fog. Somehow the loneliness seemed less bitter. We could even release the terrifying bottled-up fears of disapproval by our husbands, or those who really mattered to us. We could find relief from the monotony and the pain and the frustration of our housework and the stresses our families seemed to create. At last, we were able to relax. Our newfound chemicals, we learned, also helped us to feel more comfortable with other people. Oh, we'd always been socially adept, even gregarious. But as our insecure feelings grew, it helped somehow to drink a little, or take a pill whenever we had to be with people. We were becoming dependent, but oh, we believed we had found the wonder drug. Our body's tolerance for these drugs increased, however, as did our use of them. We noticed some changes, started having pains in the neck, the shoulder, the leg, the arm, and we found we needed our chemicals to overcome these things. The chemicals had become both the cause of our pain and the cure. And so we consumed them to ease the pain they had created. Do you remember the fears and anxieties that came in? I can remember the most terrible, overwhelming fears. But of what? I was never sure. I was just afraid. And believe me, my fears were real. Other changes occurred. We let our physical appearance begin to deteriorate. Somehow it just didn't seem to matter so much anymore. We became overly critical of everyone and everything. We assumed a smug, self-assured air that this was just a sham. It was a defense against the fear that we would be rejected, scorned, belittled, misunderstood, or unwanted. We wore so many masks. We had to be the perfect wife and mother, the witty, charming hostess. We had to please everybody. Having always been perfectionists, we set ourselves up for the fall. And when it came, when we couldn't live up to our own goals, we felt totally inadequate and unworthy. And then things started to get even worse. We experienced restlessness, insomnia, loss of appetite, and finally, total exhaustion. We isolated ourselves from our families, and then in some mystical way, convinced ourselves that they had rejected us. Our family, we were convinced, had turned against us. We started to hide our supply. We started going to many doctors for prescriptions, and then learned to tear the labels off of our pill bottles so our sources would remain secret. We became defiant and manipulative. We had become practiced, experienced con artists. Our defiance grew into rebelliousness and suspicion. We were certain our husbands came home late because they were cheating on us. We expected their infidelity. How could they love us? So we took a long look at ourselves and went through a period of self-loathing and self-hate. We became hostile and destructive, and finally, guilt-ridden and remorseful. Well, that's our history. Somewhere along the line, we found ourselves here at Lynnville. Most of us didn't care what happened to us, didn't care about anything. But we were here. What's to become of us? Is there hope? Not only is there hope for recovery, but out of this, you can become a better human being than you were even before you took that first drink or pill. You can be a beautiful wife, a loving mother. Your love for your family will return. Their love for you was never really gone, but you will learn to recognize and accept it again. But you have to earn all of this with the help of God and AA.
Of all AA's 12 steps, none can enlighten us more about ourselves than step 4. Make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Our instincts were given us for a purpose. Yet, so often, these all-important desires exceed their intended functions and powerfully, even subtly, come to dominate us. No one is exempt from this danger. Almost every serious emotional problem results from such misdirected instinct. And so these great natural assets become liabilities. Step 4 is our painstaking effort to discover these liabilities in ourselves and find how, when, and where they have warped us.
Jan, it's a matter of seeing our own immaturity. We rejected our families. They didn't reject us.
I resented everyone around me. I just didn't feel needed.
But you are needed, Jan. You're a very capable woman. You can accomplish anything that you want to, as long as you remain sober.
I'd reached the point where I couldn't love anymore. I just couldn't give love. Fact is, I couldn't accept love either, or compliments or anything. I can remember when a neighbor, and how I used to avoid them, saw me in the store and said, "My, that's a pretty dress." It was, too. It was expensive. But do you know what I said to her? I said, "Oh, it's nothing. It's just something I picked up on sale. No one else seemed to want it." I simply felt unworthy of having nice things. Of course I'm happy. I'm going home tomorrow, and I feel great. I am a little scared, though. But I do understand so much more about my illness, what the alcohol and pills did to me, how they changed my thinking. I know I won't always feel so elated, but I'm going to enjoy it for right now because it's taken so long to get here. How long have you been with AA?
I've been a sponsor for about 6 years now.
Mary, thank you. I think I'm going to be all right now.